What makes a legend? What mix of courage, inspiration, and inner strength propels an ordinary individual to make history, to stand out from the rest of the populace, shape the world around them, become heroes or villains? I am Funky Monkey. Come with me now as we leave the House of Love behind and enter a new realm, the House of Legends.
Well, hey there, Internet, and welcome to my House of Legends. Now, our previous legend tied the grand scale of all-out war with a more personal story of a quest across a hostile land to destroy an ancient evil. Our next legend is no less grand, if leaning a little more heavily on the personal, though no less epic in its overall scope, and in fact, even more so. I refer, of course, to the rebuild of Evangelion, and we begin, sensibly enough, at the beginning.
Released in 2007, You Are Not Alone is the first in the rebuild of Evangelion film series, ostensibly recapping the first 6 episodes of the original Evangelion TV series. A teenage boy must overcome his misgivings and become the pilot of the mysterious Evangelion, while also navigating life in a new school and home. While not a perfect entry point into this notoriously neurotic deconstruction of giant robot anime, this movie nonetheless was well received in its native Japan and holds an audience score of 85% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So, come with me now to the streets of Tokyo 3, as a young man becomes a legend in the first chapter of the rebuild of Evangelion. You are not alone.
Meet Shinji Ikari. He's stuck in the middle of a war zone. Tokyo 3 is under attack by angels, whose true nature is a story to rival the lore in Lord of the Rings. Long story short, they're monsters of the week, for the most part. Luckily, he's soon rescued, and on his way to Nerve HQ, the organisation that took it upon themselves to research the origins of Second Impact, the catastrophe that befell the world. But in the year of the Angel Assault, they are now defending Japan and the world against these creatures. In the secret underground base, we also meet the staff of this clandestine operation to protect humanity. And of course, the ultimate weapon in the fight against the angels. Evangelion, a giant cybernetically enhanced humanoid creature used by Nerve to oppose and hopefully defeat the attacking angels. But Shinji is hesitant. What he also is, however, is fair-minded. We'll be formally introduced to this girl, Rei Ayanami, a little later on, but for now, she was injured in testing the prototype Eva, Unit 0. Shinji's hesitation to pilot Unit 1 forces them into having to use Rei instead, or maybe it was a gambit to play on his feelings. Over the next few weeks, we'll discover that Gendo, who's also Shinji's father, is kind of like that. He's a bit of a jerk. And so our hero is inserted into the Evangelion, transferred to the battlefield, and battle goes about as well as you'd expect with a complete novice at the helm. But the soul of Unit 1 awakens and fights back. Long story short, Unit 1 wins. And Misato Katsuragi takes in our hero. And on to training. But all too soon the next angel shows up, and our hero is deployed to fight. But the angels are radically different from one to the next, which Nerve weren't aware of, and so didn't prepare training for. But hey, as long as Shinji can put one foot in front of the other, right? Shinji's instincts finally kick in when 2 of his schoolmates, that snuck out to see the fight, are threatened. With the last of the Ava's power reserves, Shinji finishes the mission.
You see that? That is what happens when you lay the weight of the world on the shoulders of an ordinary teenager. War is hell, Shinji. But hey, if you survive this whole madness, your first beer's on me.
And so, we are finally introduced to the pilot of Eva Unit 0, Rei Ayanami. And all too soon, the Angel of the Week approaches and our heroes are sent out to defeat it. But this one has a powerful beam attack. Powerful enough to boil the liquid in the Eva's cockpit. And so our hero is recovered and treated for his injuries. But what about the Angel? Well, Misato has a plan. A giant positron laser rifle, using an Eva as the targeting system. Essentially, a giant sniper rifle. But they'll only get one shot, because it'll take half the country's power reserves just to fire. And so when Shinji awakes, Misato shows him what they're fighting for. This is Lilith, the second angel, and key to initiate Third Impact, the catastrophe that will see the end of humanity. Thus do we reach the H-hour, and the lights go out all over Japan. Defense turrets offer volleys of covering fire, and our hero takes the shot. But oh dear, it wasn't enough. And as Rei withstands the Angel's attack, Shinji finds something to fight for. And so our first movie ends as our heroes reconcile. But other plans are already in motion.
But we'll get to that. For now, that was the rebuild of Evangelion Part 1. And despite our hero's dour demeanour, I'm still going to put this one into the House of Legends.
It needs to be said, Shinji Ikari is whiny. But then there are 1,000 other in-universe arguments to excuse and explain why a scared teenager would choose to step into a biomechanical monster like the Evangelion Unit 1. And I could talk about the vocal performances of the English dub, and Spike Spencer's digitally altered tones making Shinji even less endearing as he complains about his lot, stammers through his first meeting with a naked Rei, and even scolds Ayanami for her coldness. Or make note of Alison Keith's Misato, but the character trying to balance her responsibility for Shinji with being his military superior walks a delicate balance. And Keith, when first selected for the dub, was part of a repertory cast at AD Vision's dub studios. Really though, the star of the show is the animation, which finally receives the budget it deserved, and the CG and digital ink and paint finally match the ambition. Especially the sixth angel, a shifting CGI diamond which contorts itself into myriad shapes. But as I say, it's hard to root for this kid, and while it's entirely understandable that if you put a real teenager with zero mecha piloting experience into the situation of having to save the world, they'd crack under the strain too. We were blessed to have the likes of Koji Kabuto square up to the task at hand, and joyfully beat down malevolent mechanical mother crusher after tyrannical tin-plated toe rag. Then again, Gainax, that made the original TV series, never did follow the herd. All of which pontificating aside, is it a good movie? Technically, yes. The animation is top notch, the music has been recorded anew, and sounds crisper than ever, and the voices are clear and legible, except for the stylistic choice of having technical reports crossing over one another, and as a character study of an ordinary teenager thrust into an extraordinary situation and asked not just to cope, but to excel, it is genuinely affecting. Even as we complain about how whiny Shinji is, I can personally sympathise with his lot. It's something of a melodrama, I suppose, this first instalment, and while I'm no fan of that, the mecha stylings and earned reputation go some way to sweetening the deal. In summary, this isn't the joyful lunacy of a Mazinga, or the measured war drama of a Gundam, but you know what? I can still recommend this movie as an entry point into the tale of Evangelion.
But this is only the beginning. The rebuild of Evangelion continues next week when we meet a certain red-headed girl who'll certainly upset the apple cart. Till then, I've been Funky Monkey, promising you plenty more fun and frolics next time. See you there!
Hey folks, Funky again. If you liked the video, you know where that button is. Or why not consider subscribing and ringing the notification bell? And if you want to be extra awesome, you can check out my crowdfunding links. And if you're not fussed about any of it, that's okay too. So long!